Generation STEM is brought to you thanks to the help from the National Science Foundation and its collaborative association with the Center for Games and Impact, VEME, Eline Media, Haku, and Arizona State University.
Today on Generation STEM, after overcoming all odds and all kinds of difficulties, a young man made his dream of becoming an aerospace engineer a reality. When he was a child, he needed to know how everything worked. That curiosity led him to build robotic ships to travel to other planets. A mathematician decided that the best way to help others and to pass along his knowledge was by teaching. A school specialized in STEM education helps students with support and assistance even with their personal problems to help them get on a path to become successful professionals. All of this and more today on Generation STEM. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Generation STEM. I'm Gabriel Salgado and I'm here to share with you stories that have been designed to spark the interest for those careers related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. The conquest of space was a great step in the technological and social evolution of humanity. Today we are going to start with the story of a young student who, despite not having the best grades in high school, never gave up on his dreams of being an aerospace engineer. David Irizarry tells us about the troubles he had to face before achieving his goal.
My name is David Irizarry. I'm 22 years old. I graduated from the Pennsylvania State University in aerospace engineering, and I've also accepted a job in Florida for aerospace engineering. I knew as young as 3 years old that I had a huge passion for aviation. I knew I wanted to be a pilot, and my mom always fed into that. She always believed in me, and she wanted me to, aspire to have big dreams. So she put me in summer programs, and one of them was at Embry-Riddle in Daytona, Florida. And in that program, they talked about all the different careers in aviation, not just being a pilot, which we did go out and fly. But that was the first time I was exposed to a lot of these other careers, like air traffic controllers, aerospace mechanics, and technicians. What ended up really surprising me was aerospace engineering. So due to economic struggles, my parents kind of had no choice but to move to New York and leave where we were living in Florida because our business, it just wasn't really doing good. It was a big change for me to go from Florida to New York, adjusting to a new weather, a different type of people, and just a whole different atmosphere. I kind of transferred in 3 weeks late, so I was also kind of behind in a lot of classes, especially some key ones like chemistry and physics, which are really hard to kind of catch up on if you don't have like the basic, understandings. That had a pretty big effect on my grades at the time. I was very depressed somewhat, but my mom, once we came to New York, she really tried to get me to really fall in love with New York. When you go to the city for the first time, especially being from Florida where it's all flat, no buildings, and you see these amazing, skyscrapers and these just huge buildings, you just wonder, and the bridges, like how is it even possible? Like, it's crazy, and it got me, even more into engineering. The first time I actually saw the George Washington Bridge, I know for me, was totally awe-inspiring. Like, just looking at how big and grand everything was, it was crazy. I had no idea how this is even possible from an engineering standpoint to just actually building it. And that's the same thing with everything in New York. It's just like an engineering playground. So for me, the process of getting into college was it was a little bit sticky. I know I worked really hard to get my grades better, but I knew that they weren't really where they should be, and it was just very depressing for me. But my mom never gave up on me. She reached out every school imaginable. I also got some recommendations from a lot of teachers who really supported me or tutored me and helped me out. And they knew, how much I really cared and wanted to do this. So they wrote me recommendations to a lot of schools as well. And then I finally heard back from one school, Penn State. And the cool thing about Penn State was that even though my grades aren't perfect, they'd still give me a chance to be where I want to be, which is an aerospace engineer. And then my first meeting with my engineering advisor at Penn State, he basically told me, he's like, I'm not sure if you want to pursue this type of major. He's like, you have to understand that, math and science and physics, these classes are, very important, and you're kind of like behind at this point. He's like, I'm not sure if you want to continue with this, maybe be like a mechanic or a technician or something like that within the field. But that simply wasn't going to do it for me. So it took me a whole year of catching up when I was at Penn State, because usually an aerospace degree is probably 4 years, but it took me 5 years to get my degree. But I'm totally satisfied with that, and I'm happy because I ended up learning the right way of doing the basics. I learned, everything that I struggled with in high school. I realized it really wasn't that bad. I really gave it everything I had. I wanted to prove to them that they were wrong, and I also want to prove to myself that I can do anything I set my mind to. Engineering is the whole journey is a struggle. But if you're curious and if you really want to know, these answers to the world and all these solving problems, if you like that, then I would just go for it.
Something that we have seen in stories like David's is that there are 3 important things in order to succeed, not just in STEM careers, but in general. Good education, hard work, and the most important, dedication with the desire to make a difference. That's why David can now proudly show his aerospace engineering degree. When we come back, an engineer's talent and constant curiosity led him to build complex robots that travel to other planets. Our next story is about a Mexican engineer who grew up very poor, but when he saw the opportunities he had in front of him, he took advantage of them. Jose Guzman grew up in the fields of California where his parents worked. He also went to school and saw the possibilities he could have with a good education. He didn't have much, but he had curiosity and the desire to be someone. He became an engineer, and now he sends spaceships to other planets to study them so humans can travel there someday. Let's see this very inspiring story.
My name is Jose Guzman. I was born in Jalisco, Mexico. My parents came here when I was just about 5 years of age. I come from a family of 5 brothers and 4 sisters. Well, a very humble family. We came here to Fresno Valley. When we lived by the vineyard, I still remember that as 5 or 6 years old, I would take water to them. And in that time, the temperature would be around 100 degrees, where it's, you see and appreciate that. It isn't a place that's pleasant, an environment for a person to be working in. So since I was a kid, that was something that stayed with me. My dad he would always take us so that we could see how money was earned. And if you wanted new tennis shoes, you had to go to work. And your money is your money. So then that taught me the value of hard work. And when I had the opportunity to go to school, I didn't look back, and I gave it all I got. I need to find out what the screwdriver with this is. Never in my life could I imagine that I would be involved with robots that are going to another planet. Let me tell you, this has a special one of these, so that when the instrument over there is under this one, it will protect it from the elements. I was really interested in all things that move, like engines, and I was curious to know what was that and what made a radio work, or other electrical components, for that matter. One of the teachers that I was working with, he worked at JPL, and he told me, "Have you heard of JPL?" No, I don't. And he said, "Would you like to work there?" And he gave me the opportunity to work with him. And I showed him my senior project that was basically an instrument for scuba gear. And in those days, to detect the pressure of the air tank, and if it fell below a certain level of air pressure, it would notify people to swim up, and so they wouldn't drown. So then he was really impressed, and he said, "Did you make this?" And I said, "I did." And that's when he said, "Okay, how would you like to go work on a robot that will go to another planet?" For me, what I think is most important for a person that wants to be an electrical engineer, they need to be curious and ask, why do certain things work and how do they work? From there, the most important thing is perseverance. I think that there are a lot of cases where the first time that you're going to build something, you have to see if it works. And then if it doesn't work, and you have to change what you did and try it again 4 or 5 or 6 times. So that's very important for the students. They shouldn't give up. Sometimes you have to try again. I am currently working on this project. This next project is called Insight. It's a new robotic vehicle that will launch in May of 2018. Its function is to see and find out if there's seismic activity on Mars, like there is on Earth. We want to know what's in the interior of Mars. If the land there is made of molten rock, or if it's made of another material. My advice to all Hispanic students is to look for a program in their local schools. If it's in high school or college, wherever they can, take classes on robotics or different engineering classes. Whatever type of programs, they should get involved in their schools. If I could turn back time, I definitely wouldn't change anything. On the contrary, I would put more effort than what I did. There's always something you can take things further, even if you say, I can't do this. It is, but it's worth it. All the sacrifices that I had to make, but in the end, the result really was very much worth it.
Jose is another scientist who has to use different STEM disciplines like geology, mechanical engineering, or astronomy for his work. It might sound difficult, but as he says, once you are in it, you get so involved that the work becomes like a game of numbers and calculations. When we return, a mathematics professor teaches computer science to students with different interests. The success in a career doesn't always depend on the student's ability or effort. A key part in this quest is the teacher, who has in his or her hands the responsibility to prepare the students for their future challenges. As we have seen in other stories of our series, in many cases, it's the teacher who has helped the student choose a major. Camila Mesa is one of those teachers who inspires his students with his work. He shares his professional experience with his students to open up the doors to the future. Let's see his story.
My name is Camila Mesa. I'm a professor of mathematics at Bard High School Early College in the city of New York. I'm a mathematician from the National University of Columbia in Medellin and from the University of Colorado in Boulder, where I got my doctorate in differential geometry. At this moment, I am teaching a computer science course, science of telecomputing. Mathematics traditionally has been taught with an emphasis in computing and in isolated concepts that are not a part of a bigger context. When my students see the relationship between mathematics and video games, they have a reaction of surprise when they see that certain ideas that were apparently abstract and without context are applied and working in a very visual way that stimulates their senses, and they can even be entertaining. My vision as a mathematician quickly became all about spreading the truth, to simply show people that mathematics is, well, a useful tool that can lead to so many professional opportunities. Mathematics is in some way a part of physics. Think, for example, of the movement of the planets. The movement of the planets is something that we understand thanks to mathematics. We can accurately predict weather patterns and climate change. Those kinds of things are measured thanks to our understanding of mathematics. It's true that it's a fundamental subject in medicine, and engineering, and computational science. Any area that deals with quantities and solving problems will require someone who understands mathematics. It's very important to maybe change the emphasis in mathematics from calculus and algebra, and maybe to give a little more attention to areas like statistics and computers. Every day, it has become more and more necessary to have some kind of idea of how to write code, you know? For sure. Steve Jobs says that in this country, everyone should learn how to write code because it teaches you how to think. In order to be successful in computational statistical science, one should learn to explain how they do things. One should be the type of person that should care about learning something step by step. It's true because the computers are very powerful, but if someone does not have the capacity to explain to other people how to do something step by step, they won't understand. So then you have to become someone that not only figures out the objective you are trying to solve, but also how you get to that solution. What are the steps that one must take to get to the right answer? The right answer is important, but it is more important how you get to it. So a career in mathematics is ultimately, what it does is open up doors for people instead of focusing on something more specific. After someone has received substantial training in mathematics, they can end up working in politics, in biology, in chemistry, in computational systems. Well, I mean, mathematics is how I ended up working, right? I had a job as a mathematician at the Wall Street Journal, which is one of the best jobs in the country. It has been one of the top 2 jobs for many years. Every field needs people that are good at solving problems, you know? Mathematics, it gives you that training that is going to be indispensable in whichever field.
A deep knowledge of computer programming not only allows us to solve problems that we may face every day, it will help us in the future for our professions, even if we think that our careers have nothing to do with computer programming. There are so many different skills that we can develop, such as organization, logical thinking, or structure in our thought process. When we come back, a school specializes in giving a lot of support to STEM students. In this place, no questions remain without answers. In our last segment, we will visit a school that specializes in STEM careers. Here, students from all walks of life and many without the best grades get a chance to get the tools they need to face the challenges they may have in life. We will talk with a counselor and an engineering teacher who will tell us about the support they bring to students and how they help them to overcome their difficulties. They also teach them very advanced concepts in math and engineering that will bring a lot of recognition to these students.
As a counselor, we're going to help them, guide them in what classes they need to take, and also social and emotionally. If they're having problems at home or if they're having problems here at school, then the counselor, that's my responsibility to help them.
Hi Brian, today I have your PowerPoint here, and remember everything that we went over in the beginning.
The counselors are able to help them look up scholarships online or visit the colleges, call the colleges, look online to see what's available for the students. In our program, they're able to select 5 degree plans, which is the biology, the chemistry, the math, the computer science, and engineering. So once they select what degree plan they're interested in, keep them on track of what classes they need to be taking here at the high school and also at the college as well.
For scholarship purposes, STEM is a huge advantage for the kids because they learn how to work in groups, they learn how to communicate with the community. When it comes to scholarships, you need to do a lot of community service. You need to help your community, you need to show that you're giving back or helping other people. The other thing they can do for scholarships is they can actually help the other kids in the district in Harlandale. So they can help the elementary school robotics teams, which they do.
That's not what you asked for. So you're already frustrated with this website.
In Google's world, you'll drop. I'm Jude Sullivan, and I'm an engineering teacher at STEM Early College High School. What we're going to talk about here is Google. And I'm also a robotics coach. I have 2 teams at the high school.
Okay, I need a Sharpie.
So why I think STEM is so important is because the kids need to learn to work in a group, and not always just with their friends. They need to work in a group where they're having to complete a task, but they're not necessarily in charge, or maybe it's not their idea. They're doing hands-on work, they're using technology, they're using equipment, but they're having to talk to each other in a way that's not social.
Yeah. And like the text underneath be something else.
Because we have required headings.
Let's make the headings red.
They need to learn how to communicate in a professional manner so that they can actually get their task accomplished.
Technically, that's also the other target on it, so I still got it.
The teachers, our job is to help them learn the words and how to say things in a professional way so they can get the job done. This is a skill I believe that a lot of the students aren't learning in other high schools, and that's why I really like STEM, because they're having to talk to each other in a way that's not social. It's not just, how was your weekend? They're actually having to say, how can I accomplish programming? I don't know how to program. Can you help me?
It's right in the middle, right?
Yeah,
It's right there? Okay, so let's drill that.
So they're having to go out and communicate with the people in their environment and their school, and they work on a timeline. And so I think that's a skill that is often overlooked.
I'm glad that I'm here to able to help them, lead the way for them, provide information regarding anything they might need, and especially if they're able to finish the program here, which we'll have in the first class of 2018 to complete their program. I'm looking forward for that day, for when they're crossing the stage, getting their associate's degree over at Palo Alto College. So I'm very excited about this program.
Many of the students from this school may have not gotten the highest grades, but they have shown interest and desire to succeed. In addition, students also learn other skills like how to behave or how to work in groups in a professional manner. Don't forget to visit our website, where you will find lots of information about STEM careers, how to choose a major, and steps to follow to go to college. We've come to the end of our program. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you again on our next episode of Generation STEM. Bye!